Yeah. So what is the kind of career side of things now? You have your degree in music. You're going for your master's now, or are you just like, hey, let me jump into it. Let me go and see where I can find work, I guess, per se.
Yeah. Well, I graduated and then I decided I want to get my teaching credential,
Oh, okay.
my single subject in music teaching credential. So while I was doing that, though, I got to teach third grade at a small Christian school in Laverne, and I loved it. And yeah, but while I was doing, because you can't, unless you had an emergency credential, you couldn't just go right from college to teaching.
Right.
So with good reason, you need that training. So yeah, I did that. And then towards the end of the year, I just was like, I still want to do music. Love the third graders, but I wanted to do music. And so, yeah, applied for some jobs. And I remember at Awanda, like 3 weeks before school, or maybe it was 4, 3 or 4, it was close, just opened up. Like, I guess the next person that was in line had to leave or something like that. It was very quick. And so it opened up position and I applied for it and I was thrilled. I got the position and this is where our paths cross.
Yo, this is my favorite part. The rest of the story don't matter. Husband, college. No, this part is a special part. Everyone should tune in. No, so I didn't realize it was just by chance that you got it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. Wow. And how I imagine how long after what did you get your teacher's credentials that you were able to do that, or was it still during?
I got it. So the credential is a year-long program. At least it was, when I was doing that. And so I had it. And yeah, so 2 months later.
Whoa, what a timing.
I know.
Wow, that is awesome. Okay, so at Awanda, Laverne is not this close distance. Am I right here? Or
yeah, not too far. Maybe like 20 minutes from here.
Okay, so it's not terrible difference in change. And are you still living near Azusa, or did you already move?
Yeah, we were in Glendora at the time.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so now you're I mean, I don't know if this is like the dream job, right? But you want to be in teaching. Did you always see yourself as a kind of like the high school music, or do you see yourself more like, I mean, even this time, High School Musical just came out. This was like a huge, this is like the epitome of kind of the situation. Because that's what he said, 2000. I'm like, wait, oh my gosh, 2000. So yeah, how was it? How you said you were excited. So is this what you were aiming for? Did you see yourself more in college music, or kind of what was your mentality before entering that?
Yeah, I mean, it was completely my dream at this point. I loved teaching because I had done some elementary choir, but I just didn't feel old enough or even qualified enough to do any college, even though I loved, just that level. And so, yeah, I was like, high school, let's do this. And I loved that. I mean, you guys, we did some really great songs.
Insane songs.
Yeah. That are like seriously college level. Looking back, I'm like, wow, I really like pushed those kids.
No, I mean like, man, I might see if I could try edit some videos into this. I'm really going to try. But one of the things I think was really special was that you start, and how from 2 months after was it like how much prep time did you have before school?
I think it was like 3 weeks.
So do you have did the old teacher have anything to leave you, like
nothing?
So you had to create your own. Okay, so you're now and it's just pure excitement, it's just pure just like let's do it, let's get after this.
I mean, it was so much. I remember I lost like 15 pounds that first year of teaching.
You're just like grinding. And
it was.
And how many classes did you have to year to start?
5 or 6. It was like
that's a full.
Yeah, full. But I mean, thankfully, like some of the surrounding teachers were so great in leading me through. Like Don Jaramillo, he helped me. Like Gail Sardan, she's they really took me under their wing, saying, okay, this is kind of what's been done. Take it, how you want to do it, But there was nothing left behind. I mean, I had the California State Standards that I had to teach, But yeah, I mean, that was the beauty of it, though, is like I got to choose the music that would meet the standards and, reach you kids. And yeah, but there was a lot of learning. I mean, everybody talks about that first year of teaching it's just going to be brutal because you're learning so much as a leader, as a like a manager of a,
Of the
physical
class.
space in a classroom. And
You're talking about freshmen, sophomores,
Yeah.
seniors. Like you're talking about all of them. Like
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many, and the different personalities you have to interact with as well. Um, Luckily, again, you said, I know the kind of music department is really close niche, right?
Yeah.
You have the jazz and you have that kind of the band, and you kind of have obviously the scale, and so you have this kind of tight knit group.
Yeah.
But even then, right? Like you're still having to interact with. I know that big thing in music, right? You go to other schools.
Yeah.
So was that already planned? Was it something you already knew about? It's like, okay, we're going to be going over to Fontana High to do like a competition there, like, or was it one of those things you had to coordinate and do on your own?
Yeah, well, district wise, when we had like district festivals and stuff like that, we would meet, all of us district choir teachers, quarterly, maybe something like that, and we'd go over all that. But as far as
Like Disneyland, I know you did that.
Yeah, that was all, like, I worked with the lady who would coordinate with me and do like, get all the tickets and stuff. But like, yeah, it was a lot of me starting that, approaching that.
You got suits, like choir dress. I'm like, how, if 3 weeks prep time, figure out how are you like you're like building the train wrecks to train the, railroad tracks as the train is moving. And man, was it you done it with elegance? Like, every time I attended her class, as a freshman, and this had to be, I think, your second year. I think it was, because the total amount of time you're at Wonder was how long?
3 years.
3 years. Okay, so it had to have been your second year.
Yeah.
So second year, and I mean, your first year you mentioned like, yo, you had to go, but from what I've kind of when I interacted with you the first time, the way you were, man, it was just like a perfect storm. It felt like, would you kind of feel like it was the same? It's just kind of like, or obviously, I mean, it's a storm, right? But do you feel like, man, it just kind of entered the timing of everything and just entered the flow and at the right moment? Like, how do you feel about that? Because now it's all coming together. All of your schooling, all of the working on piano back when you were a child, prepping, and that not going well, but you're like, no, I'm going to persevere, and going to college and continue trying to persevere, and then working in 3 different children's choirs, and like you're getting it to this moment of your dream, and you hit it, and it just feels like, did it feel like, does it, I don't know if my mind is the same way as it felt for you, but do you feel like your experience at that time was like was what you would hope for?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I loved it. Like I as a teacher too, like I literally was, teaching, I don't know, I would be there at 7 to sometimes 5. So 10 hours, 10 hours a day. Then I'd come home and I'd be going over the scores of the music and maybe correcting. I mean, it was my whole life in a lot of ways, but I loved it. I just seriously loved it. I loved pouring into, the students and just having music every day. It was like, it was awesome. But I will say, for anyone that's like, wow, that sounds so amazing, I struggled with doubting myself all the way throughout. And even after, when you guys came over to dinner this last week, we were talking, and I was just like, wow, like it's just humbling on like how much of an impact a teacher makes on a student, like it's truly humbling, where I'm like, wow. And, my husband and I were talking, and he's like, yeah, like little did Jovonni know that every night you were going home and just being like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I can do this every day. Like, how am I doing, just the self-doubt, I think, like, can I do this another day? Like, am I doing this right? Like, I think that was one thing that was hard for teaching, specifically for music, is I didn't get to do like a formal student teaching experience where they actually have like a teacher for a semester helping you through it. And so I think I often doubted like almost like, my husband mentioned that imposter syndrome. Like, I'm like, do I really have what it takes to like lead these kids, And I think I would doubt myself often. And my husband was always like, Michelle, like, you're doing great. Like, stop doubting yourself. You're going to cripple yourself. And anyway, so I just want to paint like a really like broad spectrum picture of that, because I think that's part of the story too, where I grew in confidence, because I think sometimes I like to be, is it the limelight? Not the spotlight, but the one behind. Is that the limelight? Yeah. That's my sweet spot, I don't really like being like in the spotlight, which is great because you guys are in the spotlight.
It worked out. Your back's to us. You're like, good luck, guys. All right, ready? Let's go. Oh, you know what I mean? You in your second year, you hit some accolades, right? I mean, I think you hit number 2, like almost. I think we got second, and like, how old were you?
Yeah. Okay. Let's do the math here.
Because you just is a year after college, right?
25. So yeah, I did third.
Wow. Like if I was 25, running high school, like, you know what I mean? I mean, luckily I think choir is rough, right? Because you have regular chorus and they're kind of the throwaways. It's just like, hey, look, you got this class. Let's just make it the best experience for everyone. But then you can have them upgrade to like concert and then upgrade to chambers. And then as they get there, you start seeing like, wait, you guys are serious. Like, and how was that realization as well? And I'm sorry, I'm sitting here for a second because this is more kind of, I have these own personal questions here. Yeah, how do you feel like that was? Like, do you feel like it was like, whoa, no? Was it a shock to you? I don't know how your high school choir experience or a church group choir experience was. But do you feel like it was something totally new to you that you didn't expect this small out of nowhere Fontana High School to be just so passionate about music? Yeah.
Well, I think, background, I actually never was really in a choir growing up until I came to APU. But I think it was really amazing to walk into an established program that is it Mrs. Dunyan, right? I think I'm saying her name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. She had built such a wonderful program. And so stepping into that role was a little intimidating because I kept hearing great things. And, that first year is always like, you hear things like, well, so-and-so did it, and it's like, okay, I know I want to honor that, but we're going to try it this way or whatever. But stepping into that was pretty amazing. And I think a lot of it was cultivating a culture, of just honoring those students that were really going for it. I think that was the difference with, concert and chamber choir. And it was like, for you, it was such a privilege to see, kids, like there was a huge handful that went from chorus to concert choir or even directly, to chambers or whatever. And it was just neat to see some of the light bulbs go on like, oh, I can sing. And actually, this is cool,
Right.
So, yeah, it was really neat.
Yeah, that's awesome. 3 years in, and I know this is, like you mentioned, this is like your life, right? Like this is a big chunk of what your mindset is at. And obviously your goals now are to like, hey, look, there's kind of more a new trajectory. Like you say, hey, look, you it's really cool to see you always kind of like, what's the next step? Like kind of what's the next chapter? And so what was kind of and I don't know if there's anything I'm missing, but we can get into actual music if you want to go into like that depth. Kind of what was the goal now? Like kind of like, okay, cool. I got to my dream. I'm in this place, I was able to achieve this big goal for myself. What's kind of the next goal for you? Like, where's your mind like looking at now? It's like, okay, I'm in high school. I'm doing this. Do I sit here for longer? Or do I make a transition? Kind of like, what is the play here?
Right. 3 years in, I was loving it and I didn't necessarily want to like stop just to stop.
Sure.
But my husband and I, our circle of friends started having babies at that time. And, my husband and I were just like, I think it's time to, start a family. And but I knew, I knew, if we're going to start a family, like just how many hours and weekends and stuff and nights for, concerts, that I'm just like, if, we're going to be parents, like I want to be all in. That's kind of my personality too. And so, yeah. And sure enough, we got pregnant, and then we were like, okay, like we need to make that transition. And I remember that day when, I told you guys, and that was hard.
Yeah, I imagine so. Because one of the things is that you didn't just like come into a space and say, great, I'm a teacher. There are some teachers who don't want to get attached to their kids, It's just, hey, I'm here for a job. I'm going to do my job,
Yeah.
But man, you took things further. Like you really did. You stayed longer to work with people if they wanted to go and make sure they can get their, their music down, especially if they had solos. Like you did extra just to try to make sure that they felt like they were important. That departure to kind of say, hey, I'm kind of moving on to this next chapter. I'm about to turn 30, right? Where, was it met with, obviously I was there, but I'm trying to just paint a picture here. Was it met with like, I guess, people were angry again because they're losing another teacher, or was it more of like, it was like, hey, it's completely okay, like let's get it, like I'm so happy that you're able to now go and do that next venture of starting a family. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, it really was like cheering me on. I think they understood my heart with it, I mean, there was definitely, a handful of students that were like, what, and
Right.
I mean, that was hard, letting you guys down like that, because it felt like we were really going places. And I mean, it was just neat. And yeah, but I felt like everybody was pretty understanding.